We have made it to the conclusion of season number 4 here in the Golden State Warriors, MyNBA franchise here on NBA 2K25. Our playoff run is done, unfortunately, in the second round, losing in 6 games to the Spurs. And we've got a jam-packed episode today going through the rest of the playoffs and going through the start of the offseason leading up to the NBA draft. So Game 6 was a rough one. We never really stood a chance, losing 115-101. I mean, we were gassed after our 17-point second-half comeback in Game 5. Jabari Springer and Kajai Stokes did what they could. I mean, Stokes has played the last 2 games without sitting really at all. He sat for a combined total of 5 seconds over the last 2 games. And no, that is not an exaggeration. That is the truth. He has shot the ball so much over these last 3 games because many of our scorers have been injured. Antoine Salis has been out. Jonathan Kuminga's been out. Roman Loggins-Burl is dinged up. So Stokes is the only one of our healthy guards, and Springer is our only healthy player in the front court. So he really had to step up. He was impressive offensively. He was impressive on the glass. 32 and 31 points over his last 2 games. But he did struggle at times defensively, and it's understandable. He is not a traditional rim protector. We traded for Evan Mobley so he'd be able to match up with a guy like Victor Wembanyama in a playoff series, and obviously we did not have Mobley available because of injury. It was still certainly a fun playoff run for Springer, though, putting up stat lines that we've really only seen by his dad. But with Roman Loggins-Burl injured and the other 3 players out entirely, it's hard to beat the Spurs with 4 of our 6 best players not on the floor. Wemby went 20 for 25. As I mentioned, Jabari Springer had a hard time defending him. Luka was not great here in Game 6. The key for the Spurs has been for both of these guys to play well or for one of them to produce along with the rest of the role players. Unless Victor Wembanyama is just this good, then he can win the game on his own, and that was kind of the case in Game 6. His most complete performance in terms of what he provided on offense and then on defense as well. I said it at the end of the last episode, but unfortunately, I feel like we never really stood a chance. When Evan Mobley got injured in Game 5 against OKC, that withered away our chances of beating San Antonio because we need Mobley out there to match up with Victor Wembanyama. And then we just continued to fall apart in the Spurs series. Salis got injured. Jonathan Kuminga's hips, plural, got injured. Both of them to the point where he barely can walk. And then Roman Loggins-Burl injured his knee and he had to play through the injury. So again, of our core 6 guys, that's 4 of them who are injured and 3 of them who did not play in the last game entirely. We should still be excited about this group, though, because all 6 of them are under team control or under contract next year. So that brings us to what we need to do in the offseason. Do we make a big decision, try to get a tried and true number 1 option, or do we stick it out with this group? Do we think this core can win a title and maybe fill out the roster with our 20th overall pick in the first round, along with some more role players in free agency? Let's go through the rest of the playoffs first. We will start in the West, the Spurs and the Timberwolves. And then in the East, we've got the Nets and the Pistons. Obviously, we're quite familiar with the Spurs. We've played against them and lost to them 2 years in a row in the playoffs. But with how intense and physical our playoff series was with these guys, they're coming away limping as well. Victor Wembanyama in Game 6 suffered a minor hip injury. Luka Doncic in Game 5 hurt his ankle. The Wolves are a little bit banged up as well. Karl Anthony Towns suffered a calf injury in the second round against the Lakers. These are the 2 most recent NBA champions, and both teams during their title runs beat us in the playoffs that year. So that bodes well for the Spurs. As for the East, the Nets have cakewalked through the playoffs. They're 8-1 so far, a very deep team led by Devin Booker and Joel Embiid. Facing off against Cade and friends, the Pistons only were the 6th seed, but they have certainly outperformed expectations, beating the 3-seeded Bulls in 6 and the 2-seeded Pacers who won the Eastern Conference last year in 5. At the end of the last episode, I said that Brooklyn is my pick to win it all. They've steamrolled through the playoffs so far. They're healthy. And right now, the 2 number 1 seeds are looking good as we simulate through the Game 4s. And the Spurs and the Nets are up 3-1. Spurs win Game 5. So they are headed back to the finals. And the decisive Game 5, nobody really stood out for the Spurs. But it was a really good defensive performance overall. The Pistons, meanwhile, are giving Brooklyn a run for their money. They win Game 6 with 26 for Domas, 25 for Holland, and 24 for Cade Cunningham. The Nets led this series 3-1, but with Devin Booker and Joel Embiid not performing all that well, that brings us to a Game 7. Ends up being a really competitive back-and-forth game, but the Nets would run away with it in the fourth, winning 139-129. Very high-scoring game, with 4 players for the Nets scoring at least 20. For the Pistons, they had to rely on their stars. Cade had 38, Ron Holland had 33, but the role players were not great. So Wemby and Joel Embiid win the conference finals MVPs. Interesting that Cade Cunningham and Ron Holland were the top 2 scorers, despite obviously losing for Detroit. So a fascinating matchup here going into the NBA Finals. We're certainly going to get a deserving champion, being that it's the 2 number 1 seeds. 57 wins for the Spurs, 61 for the Nets. The Spurs core looking for ring number 2, while the Nets look to win their first title with this group. Devin Booker and Joel Embiid are running out of time. They're getting older. They've got to win one before they retire, as the Spurs win Game 1. Luka with 45, 7 of 7 from 3. The Nets take Game 2, though. We're tied at 1. Thomas with 22, Joel Embiid with 21 and 11. An inefficient triple-double for Doncic, while Wembanyama really struggled. The Nets take Game 3 on the road. Luka and Wemby played very well, but the rest of the team was not great. Embiid with 27, Booker with 25. The Spurs win Game 4, though. We're tied at 2. Wemby with a great game, while nobody really stood out for the Nets. Every NBA Finals in this series has been a blowout. We have gone 5 games or less every year since 2022 when the Warriors last won it, and we haven't gotten a Game 7 since 2016. The Nets win Game 5, 25 for Gigi Jackson, 20 for Khalil Jordan, and a 106-88 win. The offense really struggling for the Spurs, 5 for 35 in their most important game of the year. On to Game 6 now, an elimination game for San Antonio, and they would take it away in the fourth. We're headed to a Game 7. Luka with 30, Wemby with 26, Booker and Jackson playing well, but where's Embiid? Joel Embiid is hurt. Pulled lower back muscle, out for the year. He got injured in Game 5. So Joel Embiid, injured in the finals, not playing in Game 7. This feels like an incredibly predictable scenario. Tristan Vukcevic will be the main matchup for Wembanyama. He's not a great rim protector. I like San Antonio's chances, but Brooklyn playing really well in the fourth. It's a 1-point game with 3 minutes left. We're hopping in. Booker with 17. He's been fantastic. Wemby, 3 for 12. He's gotten locked up by Vukcevic, and he'll look to save it here with 3 minutes to go in Game 7. Thomas in isolation, spamming dribble moves on Anthony Davis. Thomas with 4 is fouled. Why are you fouling him there? Everybody and their mother knew he was going to shoot the ball. I mean, you feel like they could have managed that possession a little bit better defensively, but they would respond with it too. Wembanyama with the jumper over Thomas. Victor Wembanyama's got to get it going. He's out a really bad Game 7, looking to right the ship as the lead is back at 1. Devin Booker around the screen. Good look for 3, and it's good! Devin Booker, 31 years old in his 13th NBA season, looking for his first title. 4-point lead for the Nets. Doncic, step back, rattles out. Vukcevic with the rebound. He's got Booker. In transition, Khalil Jordan, former top 5 pick out of the University of Connecticut. No good, in for the layup. Anthony Davis with the stop, won a title with the Lakers in 2020. Luka, Wemby with the jam over Vukcevic. And the Spurs bring you within 2. This is not a good camera angle. 108-106 minutes to go. Nets are 60 seconds away from the championship. Booker no good. Luka with the clamps. You don't say that every day. Nembhard on the drive is fouled by Gigi Jackson, and he will go to the line to shoot a pair. Biggest 3 throws of the season. First one rattles out for Andrew Nembhard, and the Nets are going to hold on to the lead. Second one here for Nembhard to bring you within 1. Takes a friendly bounce in. 49.3 seconds. Is it too early to foul? I would say yes, and it looks like the Spurs would agree with that. So the Nets are going to run a regular possession. Booker on the drive. It's good! Devin Booker, 3-point lead for the Nets. 32 points here in Game 7 for Book. He's been the best player on the floor tonight for Brooklyn. Off the inbound, Palermo to Doncic. Quick jumper is good. That's a fast response. Not the shot I would have taken, a contested mid-ranger with the season on the line, but hey, he made it. 1-point game, under 30 to go. Booker, pull up. That one rattles home. He will not miss. Devin Booker makes another one, and the Nets are one defensive stop away from potentially clinching the championship. Shot and game clock separated by 3 seconds. It's Luka Doncic inside for Wembanyama. Post up on Vucevic, and it's good. The lead back at 1. Vucevic on the baseline sends it to Cam Thomas, who is fouled by Nembhard. He'll go to the line to shoot a pair. Keep in mind the Spurs are out of timeout, so they're going to have to play this off of whatever happens on the second free throw. So they've got to be ready, make or miss, to run an offensive play. Thomas sinks them both. 3-point lead. If you're the Spurs, do you hold for the tie or do you go for the quick 2? With limited time left, I think they go for the 3. Luka Doncic has it. He gets it to Anthony Davis. Palermo with it under 10 seconds. Nembhard, good look. Bang! Andrew Nembhard ties it with under 6 seconds to go here in Game 7. The Spurs needed a big 3, and with Luka and Wemby having inconsistent games, they give it to the guy who's led the team in scoring tonight, Andrew Nembhard, who ties it at 114. So with 6 seconds left, the Nets have a chance to win it. This could be one of the biggest shots in the history of the NBA. I would argue even bigger than the 30-foot pull-up jumper in the Season 1 finals by Jalen Brunson against Dallas, because we have to remember that shot was in, I think, a Game 5. The Knicks were up 3-1 in the series. This is a little different because it's Game 7. So we'll see if Brooklyn can win it all. Got to imagine it would be Devin Booker and his 34 points taking the shot. Booker has it, drives right side, good look, and it is no good! It rattles out! And we are headed to overtime. That is as good of a look as Devin Booker could have asked for. It takes an unlucky bounce out. I wasn't planning on watching a lot of this game, but it's overtime of Game 7. We've got to watch it. Spurs win the tip, but it's been a brick fest to start. Palermo clanks it off the back iron. Here comes Brooklyn looking for the first points of overtime. G.G. Jackson pull-up jumper is good. And the Nets are on the board first here in OT. Davis looking for the fadeaway. That is not the shot. Okay, never mind. I take that back. Anthony Davis ties it at 116 with the lefty fadeaway. And here comes Brooklyn looking to regain the lead. The first overtime in Game 7 of the NBA Finals since 1962. Booker, layup, no good! Luka has been terrific defensively over these last few minutes. He knows what's at stake. Spurs looking to take the lead with 3.5 to go. Doncic to Chance Palermo inside for Wembanyama. Wemby, turnaround Jay, off the mark. Why doesn't he post up? This was an issue in this series against us. He settles for jumpers too much. Tristan Vucevic has not scored today, but has been one of the most impactful players on the floor as he gets the assist on the 3 at the top of the key by G.G. Jackson, who is the first 5 points of overtime for the Nets. 3-point game. Brooklyn ahead. Cam Thomas, step back, jumper, no good. Wemby with the rebound. Thomas agonizing in pain. It's a 5-on-4. Nembhard, Luka, wide open. It's good. We're tied at 119 as Cam Thomas is grabbing at his lower leg. Leave it to the Spurs to continue to injure people. What a surprise. Tied at 119, under 2 minutes to go. Luka Doncic matched up with Devin Booker. Doncic in isolation has plenty of space. Drives right. Sweet kiss off the glass. San Antonio with their first lead of overtime. 121-119. Booker sidestep, and he's fouled! That's Luka's 6th! And he's out of the game! The number 1 rule of defense. Don't foul the jump shooter. Especially when you're the team's most important offensive player and now have 6 fouls, along with it being Game 7 of the NBA Finals with 1.5 minutes to go, as Booker would make them both and we're tied. Tyus Jones now in the game to replace Luka the rest of the way. Wemby's got to watch his footing, almost out of bounds there. He's able to stay in over Vucevic, no good. Big stop for the Brooklyn Nets. They're looking to run the floor quickly. Jackson inside, Harbor misses, ball is tipped. Devin Harbor gets his own rebound, and he's blocked. Anthony Davis with the denial. Here comes San Antonio. 50 seconds left. It's Tyus Jones with it, and the Spurs are going to reset. Slow it down a little bit. Wemby over Jordan. Passes it out. Jones for three. No good. It rattles out. Vucevic with the rebound. He gets it over to Devin Harbor. Harbor replacing the injured Cam Thomas. Jackson. Vucevic. There's under 30 to go. Booker, mid-ranger. It's good! Devin Booker does it again! And the Brooklyn Nets lead it by 2. Devin Booker having the game of his life, looking for his first NBA title, looking to cement himself as one of the greatest two guards to ever play the game. What is Coach Pop dialing up? Without Luka in the game, I feel like you got to give the ball to the back-to-back MVP. I know he has not had a good game today, but he's the superstar. Let him lead the ship, and if he doesn't get a good look, Andrew Nembhard's a good catch-and-shoot guy. Chance Palermo's a good catch-and-shoot guy. There's options. Jones on the inbound, and the Spurs are quickly going to use their last timeout. That is extremely odd timing. I guess they were not prepared for what the Brooklyn defensive scheme would throw at them. Well, they are going to burn back-to-back timeouts to get a little more time to talk over this possession. So this kind of tells me that the Spurs are going to hold the ball. It's hard to blame them. You don't want to give Brooklyn a real shot at the end of the overtime period. If San Antonio makes a shot here, the problem is if the Spurs miss it, this could be their only chance to get a shot off. So it's an interesting dilemma. We'll see what they do. Palermo will inbound it. He gets it over to Tyus Jones. No more timeouts for San Antonio. Jones inside. Wembanyama over Vucevic. It is good! Victor Wembanyama ties it at 123. And the Nets are going to call a timeout as they look to win the game. If you're Brooklyn, unless you have the best look in the world, you got to hold the ball. You absolutely cannot let the Spurs have a chance to get into their half-court offense even without a timeout. So ideally, this shot goes off with less than 5 seconds left, unless somebody's wide open within 10 feet of the basket. In that case, then yes, you go for the easy shot. But I feel like at the worst case, you're looking at double overtime if you're Brooklyn. Devin Booker will get it. I would imagine he's the one who's going to take the shot, and rightfully they're going to dribble out as much clock as they can. Guarded by Tyus Jones, under 10 to go. Booker at the top of the key. Nobody's getting open. Step back. Booker! He got it! 2.8 seconds left. Spurs going to have to heat it up. Jones for the tie. It's no good! And the Brooklyn Nets have won the finals. Devin Booker, step back three from 30 feet to win Game 7. I do not believe it. An all-time shot by Devin Booker and an all-time Game 7 performance. The Brooklyn Nets shock Victor Wembanyama and Luka Doncic. The Spurs will not win back-to-back titles as the Nets win it all. Devin Booker's an NBA champion. Joel Embiid is an NBA champion. Granted, he missed the final 2 games, which again is awfully on brand. What a win, though, for the Nets, who won 61 games this year, more than anybody in the NBA. The Devin Booker trade during last year's deadline has catapulted this team to new heights. They get Joel Embiid in the offseason to be what they believe is the finishing piece. They signed G.G. Jackson as well. The Nets have built this team very quickly around Devin Booker. They wanted to build a contender around him to make sure he would stick around with his impending free agency, I believe, this offseason. I think it's fair to say he's probably going to stick around. And he certainly did his part. 41 points, including the game-winning step-back 3 at the end. What a shot. 18 for Thomas, 16 for Whitehead, 15 for Jackson. And, of course, no Joel Embiid. Got to shout out Vucevic. He shot the ball once. Yet he might have been the second most impactful player other than Booker because of his defense. Triple-double for Doncic, although he has CTE, apparently. A lot of free throws for Jalen Wilson. Wembanyama, 7 of 18 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3. He'll have some questions to answer this offseason with a pitiful Game 7 performance while being guarded by a backup center who's not a very good defender to begin with. Booker wins the Finals MVP, very well deserved. Have to imagine it would have been Wemby if the Spurs had won. Joel Embiid, though, an NBA champion before GTA 6 comes out. Obviously, Devin Booker's going to win the Finals MVP, though. That is a no-brainer, an easy decision, especially after his Game 7. So the Nets win the Finals. Our first Game 7 in 12 years. It's been too long, but it was worth the wait. Booker made the Finals in 2021, 7 years ago. Remember, they were up 2-0 before losing to the Suns. We didn't know if he would ever get back here, and he does, granted with a different team. But the Brooklyn Nets, your NBA champions here in 2028, beating the Spurs in 7. I will say, though, Wemby and Luka have been together for 2 playoff runs. Obviously, they've won 1 championship together. They nearly won another. They have steamrolled through the Western Conference playoffs, and the only team to really give them trouble was us, both seasons. We took them to 7 last year, and this season we made it hard for them. A very scrappy 6-game series where their 2 best players were injured by the end of it. And I think our series and our physicality is a big reason why the Spurs may have ran out of gas at the end against Brooklyn. You're welcome, Nets. We did you a solid. Looking at the list of retirements, there's not a lot of guys, but our team makes up like half the list. Jonas Valanciunas, Klay Thompson, Malcolm Brogdon, all retiring. Obviously, none of these guys really played roles for us this year, but Klay Thompson is a Warrior legend, one of the big pieces of the mid-2010s dynasty, drafted with the 11th pick in 2011, wearing number 11, and he quickly became one of the best shooters, not just in the league, but in the history of the league, along with being a very good defender. Of course, he missed 2 years in a row with the back-to-back injuries, and he never really was the same after that, but he was still good. Signed with Dallas, fell off pretty quickly, but still a great career, over 18,000 points, 3,031 made threes, one of 5 players with 3,000 threes, joining Paul George, Damian Lillard, who also is retiring this offseason, James Harden, and Steph Curry. He still has the record for threes in a game with 14, and he has some of the most memorable shooting performances ever. 37 points in a quarter, 61 points on 11 dribbles, 4-time NBA champion, multi-time All-NBA. Hats off, Klay Thompson. Damian Lillard retires as well. He'll be the other Hall of Famer, although he regressed a lot. He was pretty bad this year. Those are the only notable names in the retirements, though. There is a lot of coaches. Rick Carlisle, Mike Budenholzer, Mike Brown. Carlisle's the big one here. The Pacers just won 59 games. They made the NBA Finals a year prior. We'll see how they replace him. Am I missing something here? Damian Lillard's a Hall of Famer, but where's Klay? Klay Thompson not in the Hall of Fame. What the hell, 2K? I think I know why that happened, though, and I think I know whose fault it is. It's my fault, because in the Cooper Flag video I made the other day, I said that the interesting part about Cooper Flag going to Dallas is that he's going to get to play with 2 Hall of Famers. And when I said that, I referred to Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, because those guys are 2 Hall of Famers who are still kind of in their primes. I said that without even thinking about Klay Thompson. Obviously, Klay's a future Hall of Famer, but I didn't mention him because obviously he's not really in his prime. So I accidentally spoke it into existence that Klay Thompson's not going to be a Hall of Famer here. So I apologize, guys. It's my fault. He will obviously get his jersey number 11 retired, as will Damian Lillard. Apparently you can unretire numbers. I didn't know you could do that. I guess if I pick the Boston Celtics for 2K26, I can unretire numbers, so that way our top pick won't wear number 46. Interesting. All right, on to league meetings. Every year, I always change the shot clock pretty late into the cycle, and I think this is when we're going to do it. We're going to move the shot clock to 20 seconds so we can have high-scoring games, more offense across the league. With more talent being added, the top players are averaging less points per game. So now that's going to change with the shot clock going down. Now it is time for the draft lottery. And it's an interesting lottery because this is the best top 5 or 6 picks of a draft we've had in this series. CeCe Cunningham out of Miami looks like the number 1 pick, but after that, picks 2 and 6 are all pretty much equal. So I guess it is kind of a one-player lottery. But like if you're at least picking 6th, you're getting a blue-chip prospect who would be going top 3 most years. I'm sorry. Who's projected the number 4 pick? God damn it, New York. No way we let the Nets, who just won the finals 5 minutes ago, get a really good prospect. Of course, the Warriors do not have a lottery pick. I was hoping we would when we got that Laker pick at the deadline, but obviously they played really well to finish out the year, not only making the playoffs, but nearly going to the Western Conference Finals. Sacramento gets number 16. The Raptors land at number 15. The Cavaliers will be picking 14th. Number 13 will go to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thank God they didn't move up. The last thing we need is for them to add another demon prospect to their team. Number 12 will go to the Jazz. It's crazy that they were like the 3 seed at the deadline, and then they didn't even have a chance in the play-in. I think they were the 10th seed. The Heat get number 11. The Suns get 10. The Wizards are in the top 4. 5th straight season, the Wizards have the top 4 pick. Maybe they'll be good for once. The Sonics are in the top 4 as Denver gets number 9. All right, now we're having some fun and some chaos. Atlanta gets number 8. Their young core has quickly been building nicely, but they kind of need that number 1 guy, and they probably won't be getting it now at 8. Charlotte gets number 7. Brooklyn gets number 6. Thank God. There are probably 5 or 6 really good prospects, so they're going to get someone very good, but still, could have been worse. The Suns get number 5. They got screwed in this lottery. The Wizards did not have their own pick, but they had a different pick, and they end up moving up. Their own pick is at number 5. Their pick is at number 4 via Philadelphia. And the Sixers are one of the 3 teams who is still alive. The 3rd pick goes to the Sonics, so we're down to the Sixers and the Montreal Huskies, who were the worst team in the NBA this year. The 2nd pick will be made by the Philadelphia 76ers, which means for the first time in franchise history, the Montreal Huskies will be picking 1st overall. The Huskies won a league-worst 13 games last year. They certainly deserve this pick, and they will have the opportunity to presumably select Miami big man C.C. Cunningham. All the mock drafts have him going number 1. I don't think it's as much of a lock given that there's, again, 3, 4, 5 really good prospects below him, but chances are Cunningham at least is the presumptive favorite to be the choice. We have a couple open spots on the staff, including the head coach. I see no reason not to bring back Steve Kerr. I wanted to see if we could offer him to be the assistant GM as well, but we're not able to. Steve Kerr does not want to come back. Rejected. Okay, then. So I guess we're getting a new head coach. With Klay Thompson gone, Steve Kerr joins him. It really is a new era. So we're going to look at J.J. Redick. I think he'd be a good fit for us. Pace and space offense. We've got a lot of guys who are on the perimeter. He did a great job with the Lakers last year, but I guess his thought process maybe is he doesn't really want Zion Williamson, heliocentric ball. Rather, he wants a bunch of guys who can shoot around the perimeter. But he ends up saying no, despite the fact that we ended up offering him a lot more money. He blocked us! Okay, then, so we don't even get to talk to him. Damn. 3rd time's the charm. I unironically thought about Darvin Ham, Mr. Hands in the Pockets himself. But we're going to look at Sam Cassell. He's been an assistant coach for a while, high potential, pretty good ratings. I think he'd be a good fit as our head coach. He blocks us! So we're going to pivot again. We're going to look at Jacob Underwood. He is the grit and grind system, which I think makes a lot of sense for us because I talked about it in the San Antonio series, how this team isn't going off of finesse. They might not be the fastest. They might not be the best shooting team, but they're going to win off of toughness and grit and wanting it more. I think he's a good fit. He'll be our new head coach. Steve Kerr is going to Brooklyn. That is fascinating. So the Nets win the title. They let go of Jordy Fernandez, who goes to Detroit, who he just beat in the Eastern Conference Finals. J.B. Bickerstaff, meanwhile, leaves Detroit to replace Rick Carlisle in Indiana. And J.J. Redick goes back to the Lakers after all. So I guess maybe he talked himself into a Zion Williamson offense. So a fascinating switch of many of the top teams across the league trading off coaches. But we no longer have Steve Kerr. And all the pieces of the 2010s dynasty team is now fully gone. It is officially a new era in Golden State. So with that, we have our draft preview. I don't have the stat graphics to show, but I will be going over notable stats with these guys as we go along. And we will start with C.C. Cunningham, the projected number 1 pick to the Montreal Huskies. A 6'1", 245-pound big man. He's got an NBA-level body. Really, really good defender. He's got the offensive skill set you look for. He can finish around the basket with good touch. He has shooting upside from beyond the arc. This is the type of kid you want to build around. He was dominant in the ACC this year, 17-8. Good shooting, good defense. I think he is the modern big man because he can run the floor, but he can also hang around the basket and be a productive rim runner and rim protector on both ends of the floor. I don't think he's a slam dunk number 1 pick, though, and it's not his fault, but it's more so because the next 5 players in a normal class would certainly be in the discussion for the number 1 pick. We'll start with Braxton Lee Carter, the talented guard out of LSU. He's a big point guard, 6'6", 7'1" wingspan. He has elite measurables, and he had a great season with the Tigers this year, rising his stock into the top 5. And he seems like the presumptive favorite to go number 2 to the 76ers. 3-level scorer who can create his own shot. He's a really good passer. I think he needs to improve defensively, but he's got the size and length to do it, given that he's got really, really long arms. So I think, assuming he buys in to what an NBA staff is going to do for him defensively, there's no reason to think he won't be productive on that end of the floor. Carson Adiakale, small school guy, Indiana State, averaged 23 points per game this year. The question is, how will he respond to going up from the Missouri Valley Conference to the NBA? Well, whenever the Sycamores played against good teams, he was impressive. So I don't think it's too much of an issue, at least in comparison to the other college prospects, of how his game translates to the next level. He's a guy who can play on the ball and can create his own shot. He can shoot off the catch. He can get open without the ball. I think he's got a good knack as a playmaker at 6'8", and I like what he provides defensively as well. I fail to find many holes in his game, so combine that with the production as a 19-year-old freshman, and I think you're looking at a top 5 pick. Arvon Jackson from Marquette, another bigger point guard. He doesn't have the measurables that Braxton Lee Carter does, as he is 20 inches shorter, and his wingspan is only 6'7", compared to 7'1" of BLC's. I think Carter's a little bit more polished, though, especially offensively, really crafty with the ball, very, very tight handle. He can get to the basket. He can shoot from the mid-range. He can shoot from 3. I think that he's a little bit worse as a playmaker than Braxton Lee Carter. I think he has less defensive upside, but I think he's a little better right now as a scorer. He was amongst the leaders in points per game in the Big East, despite being a true freshman. Marlon Boston from Rutgers. I think he's the modern prototype on the wing. He can create his own shot, light it up from 3, shot 40% from beyond the arc this year. I don't think that's going to necessarily stick in the league, but this is a guy who can get open in a variety of different ways. I wish he was a little better defensively, though, for a 6'6", 207 guy who lives on the perimeter. I wish he was a little bit more consistent, but I think with the athleticism and the 6'10 wingspan, he'll probably be fine. Rakai Stewart from Texas Tech. I love his game. 6'8", ethical hoops. He reminds me a lot of Indiana Paul George in the sense that this is a guy who you trust to bring the ball up, who you trust to create his own shot. There's going to be the flashy plays. There might be the occasional bad play, but you've got a guy who's a true 3-level scorer, pretty good defensively. I don't really think he provides a lot as a playmaker, though. He can have tunnel vision sometimes with the ball, and whenever he gets it, he's always looking to score. That can be a positive because he can make every shot in the book, but when the defense really keys in on him, he's still looking to take the shot even if it's a bad one. So that's something that he's really got to improve upon. I think those top 6 guys are in a tier of their own, and then afterwards is where the draft really opens up. There's probably 10 different players who could be the 7th overall pick. We'll start with Deo De Seville from Villanova, who for most of the year was a projected late 1st to 2nd round guy, but his name has really shot up during the pre-draft process. NBA teams value versatility, especially defensively. Deo De Seville can guard multiple positions. He doesn't do it at a consistent level, though, which makes me confused as to why teams really like him. He was very impressive, though, offensively. He's a 22-year-old, 4-year senior at Villanova. I don't really know what part of his game offensively translates the most to the NBA, though. Inconsistent shooter, a little inconsistent around the basket. He's more dominant than every wing in the Big East at 6'10", 235. I don't know if that translates into the NBA, but teams clearly see some two-way upside with him. The one team who De Seville really struggled to guard on the perimeter was Marquette, and that's because they've got 2 NBA-level guards with Arvin Jackson and Calvin Keckpower. As you'll notice, there's a lot of upperclassmen after this top 6 in this draft class. That's kind of the theme with this year's group. Teams like a lot of the juniors and seniors in this class. We talked about De Seville, who's a 4-year senior. Keckpower is a 3-year junior at Marquette. He was recruited here with Kajai Stokes. They were in the same class. Keckpower was the higher-rated high school prospect. Stokes ended up having the better freshman season. Obviously, he was a first-round pick, and he's worked out pretty nicely in the NBA. But I like Keckpower's game as well. Tough shot maker, has really improved from 3. I do question his offensive versatility. At only 6'2", is he going to be able to play off the ball? Well, at the Combine, he actually measured in at 6'4". So that has teams excited that he's 2 inches taller, and his stock has gone up because of that, possibly into the top 10. Kylan Gubnang Jr. of Kentucky had a big season for the Wildcats. Sort of came out of nowhere. He wasn't a super highly regarded high school prospect. He was a small school guy, transferred up to Kentucky, and led them to the national championship where they lost to North Carolina. 21 years old, he's a junior who was the SEC Player of the Year. Really good rim protector, really good scorer. Hard to find someone who's 6'11" who can shoot the ball and play defense like he does. Those types of players do not grow on trees. Jamario Mooney from Vanderbilt, a high-energy center who is a nuisance to deal with defensively. He's also a good rim protector. I don't think he's anywhere near as polished as Kylan Gubnang is, but I do like his game. 22 years old, late bloomer, really came onto the scene this year as a senior for the Commodores, winning the SEC's Defensive Player of the Year. As I mentioned, Kentucky lost the national champion to UNC. The tournament MVP was 23-year-old, fifth-year senior guard Matthias Franklin, who has been with the North Carolina program for a while, and he really turned it on this year. 21 points per game, All-American, All-NCAA first team, and he was terrific in the tournament, scoring 30 points in the national championship. He's projected to go in the lottery despite being an undersized 6-foot guard who will be making his NBA debut at 24 years old. That should tell you that this kid can hoop. He's a good scorer, good playmaker. Obviously, he's going to be limited defensively given his size, but he's a fun player to watch, and teams clearly believe in the shot making, in the clutch gene, in the winning that he brings, despite being smaller and older and not really having the measurables and traits you think of when you look for an NBA prospect. It's a challenging projection for a player like him because you don't see guys like him often, but maybe teams think he can be an Isaiah Thomas, the Celtics Isaiah Thomas, that is. Marcus Evans from St. John is a lot easier of a projection. He's a 3-and-D guy. I think he's going to be a really good role player in this league for a while. He's a guy who you can really trust to shoot the piss out of the ball. Great catch and shoot guy. He can create his own shot a little bit, can score off the dribble a teeny bit. I think he's improved upon that during his freshman season at St. John, so there is some potential there. Good perimeter defender with room to get better. This is the type of kid who I think a team like Oklahoma City is going to look for at pick 13, a guy who can plug into the rotation right away and give you early production this upcoming season as a rookie. Quinn Sims was one of Matthias Franklin's teammates on the national champion North Carolina Tar Heels, a top 5 recruit going into the year, and he was a little inconsistent, but he did play really well in the tournament, a big reason why UNC won the whole thing. Really good around the basket, very good finisher. He needs to improve the three-point shot, though, and he needs to improve the defense. He's got the body type to be a versatile defender, 6'9", 215, but he's a little bit of a tweener. I don't know if he is the size yet to match up with bigs. I don't think he has the quickness to match up on the perimeter. Down the board a little bit, Silos Royal, another projected top pick going into the year, and he was kind of disappointing for Louisville. Now, there is still reason to like him, though. He's a 6'6" forward with guard-like court vision. The problem is the scoring was a lot worse than anticipated. He only averaged 11 points per game, and he did it on just 39% shooting from the field, 22% from three. The outside shot was supposed to be at least respectable, and it was not even close. Nonetheless, you're looking at an intriguing guard-forward hybrid who plays really good defense. That's going to be a strength of his early on. Given the high school pedigree with him being a top recruit in his class, it's going to be hard to pass on him outside of the lottery. Malcolm Dumas from Houston. If you remember Chance Dumas from the Sonic series, you're a real one. His son, Malcolm, has the exact same game. I think he's a little bit less athletic than his dad. Chance was a freak, though, so that doesn't really say a whole lot. Very good finisher around the basket. Shooting is a work in progress. It was a major weakness for Chance Dumas that he improved upon during his years with the Sonics. Malcolm Dumas is a terrific defensive player, though. I wish he was a little bit more versatile like his dad. I don't think he can quite guard bigs, but he's a really good perimeter defender, and if he grows into his body a little bit more, I think he could bang down low with the big boys. Syracuse had one of the most fun backcourts in the country with Malik Tariq and Kobe Kapaner. Tariq, I think, has more upside, 6'4", the 6'11 wingspan. Cabaner, who we're looking at right here, I think is a little bit more polished. I think he's a really good playmaker. Had some really good games as a scorer, but very inconsistent on a game-by-game basis as a shooter, so he's got to clean that up. But I really like what he provides as a playmaker and as a defender, even though he doesn't necessarily have the size and athleticism as his teammate Tariq. I think he's going to be a little bit better early on, and I think the ceiling with him is high. It's just a matter of consistency on offense. Silvano Milambo is one of my favorite players in this class, hailing from the Congo. He has Spanish citizenship, 7'2", 260. And when you see a big guy like this, generally you think of a super raw and super athletic player. That's not the case with Milambo. He's not some freak. He's not some great rim protector. And if we were to pick him with the 20th pick, he wouldn't be the Wemby stopper because he's not a good defender. But there's a lot of offensive upside with him. He's got great touch in the mid-range within 15 feet. He's really improved as a three-point shooter. You can teach defensive intangibles. What you cannot teach is 7'2", 260. And you cannot teach his feel for the game offensively. He's got a really high ceiling. I think it's going to take 2 or 3 years for him to even be a rotation player. But if he hits his ceiling, look out. He could be really good. And I didn't even mention the 7'9" wingspan. He has got freakishly long arms. Waylon Wayans from Oklahoma, his stock improved quite a bit this year. He is slippery going to the basket. He moves really well for a guy at his size, 6'8", 230. He's built like a Mack truck, but he runs like a Ferrari. He's a really impressive athlete. I think he needs a little more overall polish, but he's a really fun player to watch. Now as we get after pick 20, a lot of these guys probably will be on the board for us. Kemp Lionheart from Arizona State's a very fun player to watch. He's a freakish athlete who is a problem to deal with inside. He's a really good finisher. He's bigger and stronger than everybody who he's guarding, but he's faster than them too. He can run the floor a little bit. He can get up and down super quickly. He's a unique prospect, so it's hard to see how he projects, especially because he can't really shoot. He can't really defend. It's just that he's been the most dominant and athletic player on the floor, and that's not really going to be the case in the NBA because everybody's dominant and athletic, but he's a fun player who I think could be quite good down the line. Ramon Hodge from Michigan State. I think you're looking at a solid day one role player, smooth lefty shooting stroke. He can score from all 3 levels. I think he's got a good feel as a playmaker, and he's a good defender. I think he needs to bulk up a little bit, add some strength. If he does that, I think he'll be an extremely complete player. Really impressive as a freshman this year at Michigan State. And oftentimes it takes younger guys a little while to really contribute to winning. That was not the case for Hodge. First game of the year, night 1, for Tom Izzo, one of the best coaches ever. He was immediately asked to do a lot defensively and carried a big load offensively all year, and he did a good job of it. Jack Healy from Xavier, we talked about him earlier in the year. 6'4", 6'11 wingspan, but was a little inconsistent down the stretch, and his stock took a little bit of a hit. Jamie Velourde from Ohio State. Velourde is a human highlight reel, and when you watch him, there's a lot of flash and dash, but is there a lot of substance to his game? Maybe? We'll see. Really good shot maker, but he's inefficient because he takes a lot of bad shots. I think he's very underrated as a playmaker and a defender, though. Usually with these shot-chucking types, they don't really have much else to their game. Velourde does. My big question is, can he play off the ball in the NBA? Chances are he's not going to be talented enough to play on the ball all the time. He averaged 18 and 7 this year. Super big numbers that make you think top 5 pick. But at 6'2", without much off-ball experience, how does he project to the NBA? There are some questions, but he's too talented to pass on in the first round. Demarion Castle has one hell of a head of hair. Darius Montgomery, talented two-way forward out of Kentucky. Maui Salavea from Hawaii, 6'7", 240, big physical player. Socrates Delgado from Texas, I really like his size and frame. 6'6", versatile defender. He can guard the 1 through the 4. Really athletic, very good slasher. I want to see some more polish and more consistency in his game, though. He shot the 3-ball efficiently this season, 36%, but over the last 2 months, it was only 29%. He shot it with more volume, after the non-conference slate, and he shot it a lot worse. So that'll be something to monitor and a reason why his stock has dropped a little bit since the last time we talked about him. Into the second round, Herman Fleuler, I think, will be in the first round. I think he's too good not to be. The problem is he is severely undersized. He's a 6'3", maybe 6'4" small forward. He does not have the speed to match up with tiny guards. And I give him credit. He has added things to his game to make up for the lack of speed. He can kind of guard threes because he's pretty strong at his size. He's a good shooter off the catch. He's got a little wiggle to his game off the dribble. The size is a question, but I think he's talented, and he has shown that he's willing to add things to his game to make up for the fact that he's slow. After him, Terrence Reed, 24 years old, very experienced player. Marcus Starks, late bloomer, late riser. I like him a lot. Jaden Barnett, talented shot-making 6'7" guard with a 6'10" wingspan. Cameron DeSaint, really athletic forward. Romeo Birkin from France. We talked about him earlier in the year. His stock has gone down and down throughout the year, and the big thing with him is size and frame. 6'2", he's only around 190. He does have on-ball and off-ball versatility, which is nice, but his game is just inconsistent. I like what he provides defensively, but he doesn't show it on a consistent basis. And with the lack of efficiency at times, scouts wonder if he can be anything more than, say, Bones Highland. Now, if you're getting Bones Highland in the 40s, that's a good pick. And I think he has the chance to be more than that. I think he reminds me a lot of another French guard, Antoine Salis. He's just 4 inches smaller. Kalai Josionis from Kentucky, really fascinating player, very good rim protector. He didn't play a big role at Kentucky this year. He only averaged 15 minutes a game. He averaged 3 points a night. But scouts really like what he can provide defensively. 7'2", 245. Even with a lack of playing time when he was on the floor, Kentucky's defense, especially around the basket, was far better. He's a guy who, again, probably is not going to play a whole lot early on, especially because his offensive game is really raw. But defensively, you could be looking at a really good player. The last guy we're going to talk about projected at the end of the second round is Malik Poole. We previously talked about the storyline with him being Clyde Poole's twin brother, and when we went over Malik Poole, he was projected to go at the end of the first round. So what happened? Why is he now maybe not going to get drafted at all? Well, there's one big weakness, and it's a weakness that he shares with his brother. He is small, and teams are concerned with the fact that he's only 6'1", he only has a 6'2" wingspan. He plays basketball the way Clyde Poole plays football. Crafty, fun, a little bit erratic, and obviously, like Clyde Poole, he is undersized. That's going to be a concern for him, and that's pushing him down the draft board. There are other guys who are 6'2", though, projected to go earlier, but I think the erratic play style he has is pushing him down to the second round, but I think it's absolutely worth the gamble in the 50s or 60s of the draft. Let's talk some mock drafts now. We have the 20th pick in the first round. We don't really have many tradable picks because we've traded them all away in prior deals. So that's unfortunate. The only pick we can really trade is the swap best Sixers and Clippers pick. That's going to be really valuable, though. I want to hold on to that unless we get a really good deal. The players we can trade are Evan Mobley, Dylan Brooks, Jonathan Kuminga, Jabari Springer, and Leonard Miller. Most of those guys we probably don't want to trade unless we get a really good deal. So let's look at these 3 mock drafts. We'll start with the sporting news. CeCe Cunningham, number 1 overall. The top 6, no major surprise. It's just about the order. And as I've said, the draft kind of starts at 7 with the Hornets. They would be picking Quinn Sims out of North Carolina. As for us at number 20, they have us adding size. The young man out of Vanderbilt, Jamario Mooney. 22 years old, lob threat, little inconsistent defensively, but he has the tools. We talked about him earlier. I think he'd be an intriguing pick. I think he'd be a solid value at number 20. 2K has Cunningham at number 1, Lee Carter at number 2. A little bit more movement between 3 and 6, but it seems like a lock that it will be those players. It's just a matter of which player will be each specific selection. Malik Tariq at number 7 of the Hornets. I would be surprised if he goes in the top 10, but with the size, with the wingspan, I get it. We would also pick Jamario Mooney here again. So I guess the league seems to think that that would be a good fit, and I don't really disagree. with Evan Mobley out, we didn't really have a rim protector for Wembanyama, and we're going to need a backup for him, given that as good as Jabari Springer is, that's not his game. Cunningham still number 1. Lee Carter still number 2 to the 76ers. Malik Tariq again at number 7. That's an interesting one to the Hornets. They have us going big again. It is not the kid from Vanderbilt, because he's off the board at number 14 to the Cavs, Mooney. But instead, it's Silvano Malombo, who, as I talked about, is a really fun player. He's not a good defender, but at 7'2" with a 7'9" wingspan, he could get there. And physically, he's one of the only guys in this class who eventually could maybe guard Wembanyama in a playoff series. As for the Combine, Kemp Lionheart, the fastest sprint time. I knew he was athletic. I didn't know he could do that. I'm impressed. Kobe Kapaner and Romeo Birkin did well in the running drills. Malcolm Dumas leads in vertical. Not a major surprise. Gets it from his pops. And I thought Chance could jump a little higher than that. I think he could go 45, 46 inches in his heyday. As for the shooting drills, a lot of guys towards the top here at 22. The biggest surprise in terms of the shooting drills for me is Silvano Malombo making 20 standing college threes. I know he can shoot a little bit for someone who's 7'2". I didn't know he could shoot that well. Braxton Lee Carter also at 20. I like seeing top prospects participating at the Combine. I feel like it's becoming more and more common in the NBA. Jaden Barnett leads in moving college 3. Marcus Evans in standing NBA 3. That's not a surprise at all. As I said, I think he's the best catch and shoot guy in the draft. So that completely adds up. He leads in moving NBA 3 as well. So that's got to excite teams that they can really be creative with a guy like Marcus Evans off the ball. And they just don't need to pluck him in the corner like Michael Porter Jr. Instead, you can use him in a variety of ways. I'd be surprised if we trade up or even really think about moving up into the top 10. We do with that Sixers-Clippers pick. I'd rather hold on to it. I think the guys we're going to look at, though, are really all the options at number 20. Marcus Evans, I think, would be a great fit. Silas Royal has some good upside. Malcolm Dumas, Kobe Kapaner, Silvano Malombo, Kemp Lionheart, Ramon Hodge, Jamie Verlorde, Socrates Delgado, and then, of course, along with Romeo Birkin, we had to invite Malik Poole. We got to bring him into the building. In terms of the sprints, Malik Poole leads the way. Lionheart and Birkin are there with him, so Lionheart's time at the Combine, clearly not a fluke. Dumas's 44-inch vertical, not a fluke as well. Silas Royal led the way in bench press reps. I said I want to see him improve his strength, I think. That's a good sign. Marcus Evans did well in the shooting drills. Ramon Hodge, Michigan State, he really shot the ball well. Malombo shot the ball well too. That's a pretty encouraging sign. So some interesting results here at the pre-draft workouts as that will wrap up our episode. 2028 NBA draft in the next one. We've got the 20th pick in the first round. What type of moves do you guys think we should make? Should we move up? Should we move down? Should we stand pat? And which prospects should we be looking at to potentially add to our team? Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. Peace out.